how to sumo deadlift and why we would sumo deadlift. A lot of people slate a sumo deadlift because they say it's cheating, because it allows you to move the bar a shorter distance. If you do it like a normal power lifter, they'd go feet out here. So if I'm there, pulling the bar in, and lift do a tiny movement, which in most federations of powerlifting, that is still within the rules. So it's way more effective to lift from here than it is to bring your feet right in and do a full deadlift, because I'm moving twice as far. So the goal of a powerlifter is just to get that weight off the ground and hold it at the top. So that would work in most federations. However, if we're trying to work muscle, I would say sumo does have its place. I just tend to not really use it because it's not that much of a good movement. Because you're more so working your glutes, but then a hip thrust plus an RDL would be a better combination than doing this. But I wouldn't put my feet there. I'd put my feet here, and then as I come up, I can really squeeze the glutes together.
So is there any reason why your toes are pointed outwards? Is that true?
So I turn outwards because if you turn straight, you won't be able to sumo on you. You need to turn your feet out to be able to then sit down, drive the knees out. So we go here, really trying to turn the feet out. So you need good mobility anyway. So you need to be able to sit in that squat position.
It's a sumo.
Yeah, but a lot of people struggle to sit here. So you need to be able to sit here, and then you go shoulder width with the arms, nice tight position there, lock it in, up, squeeze through. And it's hitting the glutes at the top. Back down, up, back down. However, the majority of people doing a sumo deadlift are doing it because they're trying to pull weight from the floor. So for us trying to build muscle, it has not much use. Of all the deadlift variations, a sumo deadlift is the least effective to build muscle. Just because, especially if you're going to stand with your feet wide, it's not really going to do much. It's like doing a wide grip bench press. You're barely even moving your pec. The thing is that a wide grip bench press, again, is the same sort of thing. We're not having to move it as far to get the bar off your chest and back up. But then, because we're not doing that, we're making it as easy as possible by creating more mechanical advantage, which is the opposite of bodybuilding. We'd want to make it as hard as possible to get as much movement through the pec as possible, or as much movement through our legs as possible, to try and actually work the muscle through a greater range of motion and load the muscle better. We're not just trying to load the bar more to show off our Instagram, going, 200 kilos. It doesn't do much more than stroke your ego. So that's why sumo deadlift, they're a poor choice if you're trying to build muscle.
It's good to know, because I've never seen that before. And, like, some people might use it for bodybuilding.
Yeah.
And I realise it doesn't work because they've seen it on Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah. And it's the reason most people don't use it for bodybuilding. Well, the fact that it's not good for muscle building, and the fact that most people can't get in this position. People can't get into this type of position to be able to pull the bar properly anyway.
Yeah, it's about flexibility as well, so it's knowing your own body.
Yeah. Same as deadlifting from the floor in general. Most people can't get to a controlled, comfortable position here because they haven't got the structure, or maybe they haven't got the mobility to do it. But then it's just pick and choosing. That's why we use things like the blocks, that's why we use the RDLs, it's why we choose the right movement for what we're trying to do. Understanding these different variations can help you choose the right one for what you're trying to do. So if your goal is just to get weight from the floor, then actually sumo is probably a good choice, because you're able to lift more mechanical advantageous position.
So what could you use if you don't have the luxury of these blocks then? What?
Plates. I used to use plates. The only thing is with the plates, because you've got things like the handles, an edge here, the numbers on it, you can start to roll around a little bit, which is why we built the blocks, and they're flat. And they've got the little ridges on, so if it rolls, it's not going to fall off. But you could use plates. You could use the steps from the studio.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, you just got to be careful with them, because if you start slamming the weight down, you might break them. Yeah. Yeah, but if you're doing controlled reps, they'll hold the weight. So then you can adjust those as well. Because this, I mean, you could also, in some gyms, use a squat rack, but these don't go low enough because that is on the lowest setting and it's thigh height.
I have seen them where they go lower and it's been like that.
Yeah, some gyms go right to the ground, so you could set it here and do a rack pull. That's what it was actually called, a rack pull, because it was from the rack. It's just that these just don't go very low. So then there's all these different choices we could have. It's realistically trying to set the position that fits you, which depends on someone's structure. If, for example, if you have really long femurs, you're going to struggle to get in that position. So you end up with people like this, if they go right down. Well, that means that position just doesn't fit them very well, because they want to be here. So if they're really not structured well for it, and to get their knees here, they end up bent over, then we just raise the bar up a little bit, and all of a sudden they can still use a deadlift to work to their maximum capacity. But then it wouldn't be going to the floor. Trying to force it to the floor if you're like 6'5" and dead long doesn't really work. But then we go on the blocks, it's perfect. Or potentially we do go sumo, because that tall person, it actually gives them a good range of motion sometimes. For a small person, the bar's moving like that far. So it's just understanding it, and most people don't explain it in enough context for it to be understood, to be then someone to make the right choice for their programming.
Brilliant.
So Ian, thank you for your help today.
You're welcome.
Hopefully these videos will help some people understand deadlifts a little bit better, to be able to program them in their training and get the most out of them. I'll catch you on the next one.